No, sorry,
No, you didn't need that.
If he doesn't win, I know you don't want him as your manager, so I'm not asking that question.
Okay.
If he doesn't win the league or Champions League, do you think Arsenal will sack him? Do you think he'll get another year, or do you believe it will happen? They'll remove him on. What do you think will happen? Be the consequence?
No, I think the club has backed him so far. I don't think they'll get rid of him. As long as he gets Champions League, I think the standards of this club is he gets another go. But I think he should be sacked, because in anything that you want to point at this manager that they gave me as an excuse, he's had. When they asked me, oh, you need to give him time, he's had time. Now he's got to deliver. When you said, oh, he's got to get his players, he's got his players. When you're telling me, oh, he has to get the team playing the way he wants to play, he's now implementing a second style of play this season. So when anything you want to use, at the end of the day, the fact that the bench, we have no one off the bench that's going to come on and change the game and give us a goal, it's down to him. There's no one off the bench that's going to come and create something from the midfield. It's down to him. The fact that certain players are regressing is down to him. So at the end of the day, it's on his watch. You know, I've said this before to Arsenal fans. Ole did well at first. Then he got a load of money. Then there was expectations. He didn't meet the expectations. He got fired. Same thing with Lampard. This is football. You don't meet expectations, you get fired. It's as simple as that. I think the problem these days, most fan bases are more fans of players and managers than they are the interests of their club. Because one thing that's forever is your trophies. That is a thing that remains forever. Your trophy cabinet. But people put now the interest of players as if they're their manager, like they're their agents or something. I don't care about these players because they don't care about my club. I've seen every player at Arsenal in the last 20 years that's become world-class or near about world-class has left. And why? Because my club is not run to win stuff. That is why they left. Why did Van Persie leave? They want to win trophies. Van Persie, Fabregas, Nasri, Alexis Sanchez, all these players, they get tired. They get to a certain level and realize my club is not run to win major honors. And then the fan base want to judge these players or, oh, but okay, we got some money for it. At the end of the day, that shows you something. Players don't want to stay here. We used to be able to attract Sol Campbell, which was probably arguably the best player at Tottenham, and bring it to Arsenal. Why? Because we were winning. We can't. That was the equivalent of trying to get a Harry Kane. We can no longer do that. Why? Because we're not that club anymore that is competing and winning major honors and taking it serious, where the demand is to win. But it's cool. People like me that want to win, it's my fault. It's my fault. I don't believe. It's people like me. I'm trying to be Liga and I'm trying to be this. I'm trying to be doing that. I grew up in the 90s, bro. This wasn't the standard. You know what I mean? This wasn't the standard for any of our clubs in the 90s, bro. It was about winning. I don't get it, bro. Like, at the end of the day, the manager ain't good enough. The club doesn't stop with Arteta. And the same people are telling me not to get Arteta out with the same people that got Wenger out the club because top four wasn't good enough. Why now, all these years now, top four's good enough? Why did we get rid of Wenger? Because Wenger's a bigger legend than this guy. Than this guy will ever be. But we got tired of that. But they got short memories. They got short memories, bro.
All I'm going to say is simply like, when they don't win a trophy, I should say, when they don't win a trophy and they continue to keep him after all these fans have said, we judge our manager by trophies. Like Nosa said, they judge their manager by a certain standard. When they don't sack him, they're going to show. Like in Arteta's famous words, that's the fucking standard. This is the fucking standard. That's the standard for Arsenal now. This. Top four, back to where they was with Wenger. It's just a circle, man.
Do you know what's really interesting is some of the things you've done as a club in the last 4 years, I think were needed. I think you needed a complete reset. I think a lot of players needed to go. I think you need new people to help run the club. I think it was always going to take you time to get to a point where you could challenge. And I think you have been last 18 months at a level to challenge. This is when you really test what Arteta is all about. And this is when you really see if he's good enough. And we had this conversation about Poch in the summer. Would he be good enough for Chelsea? A lot of people thought he'd be good enough to at some point get them playing good football, but whether he can get them over the line to win the major trophies is still that big question mark that's over him. And I think Arteta has that. What I found really weird in the last 24 hours is there are certain Arsenal fans online that are blank. I agree that the bench can get better. There's no doubt. No rebuild is ever complete in terms of your squad, because every team, even that wins a treble, buys and sells players. Like, it's a nonsense that you just stick with the same 23 players. And there is some holes in this team still, but I think you're ready as a squad, pretty much with a better quality manager to move forward. And you did some stuff in the last summer or so which I don't remember Arsenal doing for a long time, which was your better players being rewarded with new contracts, being given new deals, being paid the going rate for top players. That's a sign of a club that wants to win. Doesn't mean everything you do is, but if you keep Arteta, if he comes third and finishes 15, 20 points off the top, goes out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, the domestic cup performances, and you keep him, when there is more experienced managers who have won things available, that should be a sign to your fans that the board are just happy with that Champions League money if you make it, and that isn't good enough.
Can I just say something, Terry, quickly before, because I got to go, yeah? I got to go. The last thing I'm going to say, at the start of the season, Arsenal fans completely disrespected Liverpool fans, yeah, and their football club. So they're not in a title race. We are the only club that's going to either win the Champions League or the Premier League. So by their standards at the start of the season, yeah, they deemed this squad good enough to win the league. Yeah, so I don't want to hear any excuses from these top Reds. Yeah, I don't want to hear no excuses. You guys discounted Liverpool. You said that we're the only club in the race to win either Premier League or Champions League. So if we do not achieve that by their own standards and their own predictions at the start of the season, we have failed. Because then why did you make that prediction? They didn't say, oh, but we need to go in January buy a striker. I've been saying we need a striker. I've been saying it for years we need a striker. We never replaced the goals that Aubameyang was bringing to this team. We didn't. We literally replaced Lacazette for a better baller, but overall, their highest tally is 14 goals in a Premier League season. So by their standards, they can't backtrack. They've deemed it good enough to win a major honour. So if he doesn't, he should be sacked based on their predictions. That's what I'm going to say on it, man.
I hear you. Northside top man, my bro. We'll chat again soon, my G. Take care. Take care, my man. Thank you. But listen, I've been saying this to Gooners for a while now, and it's such a weird conversation because you've praised us when I have praised you for certain things. But again, you still have to, if you really had a rebuild and you really rebuilt and a lot of the things you've said are true, then sacking your manager shouldn't matter. Because all you then do is bring in a better manager to take over from that person and you keep moving forward in that direction. If you don't believe your club has really reset itself culturally, then I can understand why you're worried about sacking a manager, because Man United have never done a reset. We've never actually reset, flushed out all the crap and started again. We just build upon the ruins of the last failure and you end up back in that same position. So this shows you what a lot of Arsenal fans really think. I do believe they built a pretty good squad. I do. I think the last few games is a bad run of games. I still think they're going to bounce back soon and play some good football. I still think they're in this title race as of now. They're only 5 points at the top. I think City and Liverpool will drop more points. I think Onana would be a good signing, but coming close and falling short again after 4.5 years, you have to look at the manager. And that isn't that. And this is the one thing I'd say to Gooners that love Arteta. And I get why you love him. I understand why some of you love him, but you can't put his interests above the interests of the club. The only way I agree with not sacking Arteta at the end of the season is if they finish on 92 points, 1 point behind City, win the league on 93 points, as an example. Then you look at it and go, is anyone... But even then, that only coincides if you can't get a better manager. So don't sack him for De Zerbi. Don't sack him for, in my opinion, Alonso, who are inexperienced at that level and haven't done it. There has to be somebody who's won league titles, won European trophies, has more experience to come in. You have to get that right. You can't make a mistake in that way. But I think shutting down the conversation and saying, no, you're not an Arsenal fan, if you think for any reason Arteta might have to go, I think that's reductive for your football club.
Terry, by the way, the scapegoating won't end. Sorry, KJ. I'm just going to say one thing. Scapegoating won't end. There's two scapegoats people aren't focusing on this season. Even if they sign a striker and they still lose games and they still suck, they're going to scapegoat Zinchenko or Ben White. Those are the two new scapegoats now. We've all spoken to Arsenal fans who are like more pro Arteta. That's the new thing. Zinchenko can't defend. Yeah, but you were putting him team of the season last year. Oh, Ben White is crap. Yeah, we were putting him team of the season last year. I think Arteta's out of his mind if he signs Onana, because Onana is not an Arsenal football type player. Like, it's just, he just does not work. He's not press resistant at all, not good on the ball. So I think, like, if he signs Onana, then he just digs the hole even bigger for himself, because now it just shows that he cannot take the squad to the other level.
Arsenal fans are very close to putting Arteta above their club. And that is not good. They're very close to doing that, because if he doesn't achieve anything this year, and the majority of the fan base are still saying, yeah, it's okay, like, he's fine, give me 1 more year, just keep going. I question, what's your end goal for your club? Is it your end goal for Arsenal to win the Champions League or Premier League, or is it for Arteta to win the Champions League or Premier League. That's what I'm saying. And if your club don't sack him or don't look like they're looking to moving on, then I also think your club are putting Arteta above themselves. It's getting to a point where I really think they think this is like Football Manager, and it's like, we are gonna make this happen. We're gonna make Arteta be the one to win us.
Yeah.
They're looking for the fairy tale story, KJ. That's the thing. They're looking for the fairy tale story, and this is what I don't understand. I don't understand these emotional attachments to players and managers.
Fairy tale story all this time. Arteta's the villain, not the hero. That's the funny part.
No, but you know what it is. He was a villain at first, and then people fell in love with him, and now they're so obsessed. Because you know when you watch a movie and you're really hoping for the fairy tale ending, and then you see like the hero of the movie ended up dying or going to jail or something like that, and you're like, oh, that was such a shit movie. I was hoping this and that works out. It doesn't always work out like that. It's fine. Sometimes the hero, in their eyes right now, Arteta, doesn't end up being it. And I said in the summer, at some point, they're going to realize, and I still stand on that he's the Claudio Ranieri of their process. He really is. That doesn't mean that Claudio Ranieri had nothing to do with Chelsea's success at the time.
Yeah.
But he was the initiator of it. And Arteta could be like that. You can look at. We thought, by the way, Terry, we thought Ollie's going to be like that. Remember when we said Ollie's leaving the club at a better state than when he?
That was because they sold to us the whole way through the club. If you went on their 100%. Website, you read things they said. They sold. Their actual words in his statement of Ollie being sacked was, "We've rebuilt the squad. We have rebuilt the internal structure of the club, and we are ready to start winning."
100%.
And then straight away we saw that was all bullshit. Nothing could have been changed, but it came out afterwards. And people will say things to me, and I'll hold my hands up, and they'll say things like, no more Arsenal scare me content. Well, listen, you haven't got to understand there's two things on that. Firstly, I was speaking about that. I was speaking about that from the perspective as a Man United fan at that particular moment in time. And people always said, oh, why would you expect City fans to be scared of them? And I'm like, I don't really, because City are a better team. That's not what I'm saying, though, right? Equally, yeah, if say Arteta comes second and finishes 10 points off top, goes out in the quarterfinal of the Champions League, and they sack him and they sign Simeone, that would show me Arsenal are serious. So that's when you go, damn. So that's the whole point around that content.
Will Liverpool scare you, Terry?
Yes, they have done for years. You know that.
Wasn't the title Liverpool frighten me? Something like that? Which one is it?
Yeah. But it's one of those things where I look at it and think to myself, surely people understand that. When Arsenal were giving out all the real good contracts to their real talented players, I'm sitting there going, I don't remember in my lifetime, as an adult anyway, Arsenal doing this. All of their best players came in, got their first deal, maybe did one new deal, and then when any of them got to a level where they were turning heads, they nearly all left. So suddenly Arsenal start tying all these guys down, and I'm like, they're doing something serious here. But I said this to so many gooners, as much as I've praised you, and I think you've been right for the praise you've had, it's in these moments that you have to keep your foot on the neck of your owners. Do they make the moves to make you better to win, or are they just happy with where you are? And that's where you need to maintain the pressure.
No, but if they make the move and it's Onana, that's on Arteta. That's not on Kroenke. That's the thing.
No, of course. If he signs Onana and I don't know what they'll drop in him. Say they drop £50 million on Onana. I'm making that up. There's no talk of money yet. And then they don't spend money elsewhere, then and it goes wrong, then yes, then it's a case of, right, the club did the right thing. They sanctioned the money. So this is why I say to Arsenal fans, I believe it's a win-win season for you. You either win with Arteta or you move on to a manager that can make you win because your club are willing to do the right thing. I know neither of those well, it depends on who you are, whether you like those situations. But the way I've seen Arsenal fans talk in the last few days, like they are where Man United are right now, is crazy to me. You're not there. You're in a much better place. It's just about fine-tuning now. And that might just be a couple of players and maybe a new manager of a slightly higher pedgree. And I don't understand why that's so triggering to Arsenal fans.
The thing is, for me, Terry, is I think that if they don't sack Arteta or get to a point and forget the owners, forget the fans, it gets to a point where the dressing room starts to believe that they're not going to win anything. It starts to become more toxic. Like we've all seen in our clubs after that point of Pochettino, for example, after we got to the height of we almost won the Champions League, just everyone starts to lose that belief that they're going to do something. And I feel like the players, we all call the players bottlers, they already have it in their head. Arsenal players already know that they're just not of the level of City and so on. But at this point in time, when you go another season without winning, which will be 4 or 5 years without a trophy for them, it's now going to be Arteta's 3-4 years just consistent failure, by the way, because apart from, he failed in the season where they in the top 4 race, failed in the title race against City, and then if they finish below second, that's rewarding failure again because they've regressed even further.
And I think, and you have to look at these things. And people are saying, I want to address the crowd here, saying I'm backtracking. I'm not backtracking about anything, reversing and backtrack. There's no backtracking from me. You guys watch the videos, you're trolling me. You know exactly what I've said. There are elements of Arsenal that I think are brilliant. I don't suddenly think that this bad team. And I tweeted about this today because I see the hypocrisy. For 3 years, all I've heard from everybody about football is when you're not playing well, if you win without a good performance, that is unsustainable. Would you guys say that's a fair statement of the last 3 years from most football fans online? Arsenal right now generally are playing quite well for large parts of games, but not winning. And now what we're being told is it's all just about winning. Now, my fervent belief has always been that there's an element of truth to both of them, but the narrative's even been changed for Arsenal. You guys are going to click back into gear soon. Some of your players like Martinelli, like Saka, are going to start scoring again soon. But I don't think you can get away from conversations about your manager. They are inevitable because something has led to there being some issues recently. And it might just be a bad run of form when it all clicks back into gear and you win the Premier League, and then all these conversations are for nothing. But I don't know whether this is a Shakespearean quote or whatever, but one does protest too much, me think. When I see people get angry over questions, that's when you know you're touching on a raw nerve where there could be some truth. I want to play a clip for you guys in a minute.